Pokemon Champions is right around the corner, and with it, Mega Pokemon will be back in VGC. The Mega Dimension DLC released some absolutely game-changing Megas. In today's video, I'm going to be tier listing the new Mega Dimension Megas on their viability in VGC. Starting the year off strong with some tier list slop content. If there's one thing I want you to know about me, it's that I love consuming tier list content and I love making tier list content. To literally nobody's surprise, I love yapping about Pokemon. So today, I'm going to be going through the new Megas that were released in the Mega Dimension DLC, and I am going to be tier listing them on their viability in VGC once Champions comes out. Using Megas is one of the things I'm most excited about in Champions. Using old Megas I'm excited about. Using new Megas, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so fun. And honestly, the DLC released some absolute bangers! So I'm really excited to go over these Pokemon. We do know their stats, but we don't know their abilities yet, and we do know their typings as well. We don't know their abilities yet, we don't know what their full move pool is going to be either, so I'm kind of going to talk a little bit about their I'll definitely talk about their stats, and we do know a lot. Knowing their stats is a huge deal, but I'm going to also talk about what I think some really good abilities would be, or what abilities they might get. Some of it might be cope, who's to say, but we are going to start with Mega Raichu X. I want to tell you something. And it's that I'm a Mega Raichu X believer. Between X and Y, I like the design, purely based on design. I like the design of Mega Raichu X more, so I am really excited about this Pokemon. However, saying that, I don't think I will be able to place this Pokemon particularly high on the tier list, but let's get into it. Mega Raichu X keeps the electric typing, but is a mono electric type, which is a honestly very good defensive typing. It's an okay offensive typing as well, but you only have the one weakness in ground, which I think is a huge deal. Mega Raichu has the 110 speed stat, actually has a decent defenses, at least decent for various Raichu forms, so is rocking the 95 SPDF and 95 defense, 60 HP lackluster, but a pretty big 135 attack stat and 90 special attack. So not particularly good special attack, but really fairly good attack. And Mega Raichu X is one of the very few Pokemon that almost has a pseudo ability in Legends ZA, and that ability is that Mega Raichu X gets a attack boost, a +1 in attack every time they use Volt Tackle, right? So, if we think about that, I think that's definitely going to play into Mega Raichu's ability in Champions. Maybe it will be something where it's Mega Raichu doesn't take recoil from maybe something like Mega Raichu doesn't take a recoil from Volt Tackle and gets the attack boost. Maybe something like that, because genuinely, and I've talked about this in other tier lists, physical electric type moves just are not as good as special electric type moves. Special electric type moves, you have spread moves in something like a discharge, depending if the Pokemon gets parabolic charge, that's a really huge deal. You have Volt Switch, so you can pivot. You have Electro Webs, which is a spread move, and it gets you speed control. And then you have big single target damage in something like a Thunderbolt and a Thunder. And the physical moves for electro types just are not there. They just aren't there. So I think that inherently is going to hurt Mega Raichu X. I think it'd be cool. Mega Raichu X is floating. Mega Raichu X is the floor is lava and Mega Raichu X is winning the game. So, will this Pokemon get a two-pronged ability Levitate plus the +1 in attack, not taking recoil plus the +1 attack? I'm not sure, but I really hope so, because I really want Mega Raichu X to be good. I genuinely really want Mega Raichu X to be good. I love the design, but I think I might have to put Mega Raichu X in D. It just, Mega Raichu X, the speed stat isn't quite there to be super speedy. Being a physical attacker, I just think hurts a little bit as well with the move pool. But, maybe Mega Raichu X will get some cool moves I can't even think. I like maybe oh, what's the move I'm thinking of? It's like Earthquake, but then it lowers your speed, and it hits everything on the board, and the name of it is just escaping me right now. But like maybe Raichu can get some fun moves like that. Okay, moving on, we have Mega Raichu Y. I believe we can just do a little scroll. There's my little buddy. So another pure electric type. With a massive 130 speed. The 130 speed is really, really big, being able to outpace so many Pokemon. Additionally, less good defenses, still rocking the 60 HP, absolutely heinous 55 defense stat, and an 80 SPDF. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe this Pokemon will be able to live some special attacks, but because this is a Mega Pokemon, you can't hold something like a Focus Sash or something, because you are already holding the Mega Stone. However, we do see a pretty blistering 160 special attack stat, and like I just mentioned, electric types get very, very good, very useful in VGC special moves. Thunderbolt, Thunder, Volt Switch, Electro Web, Discharge, Parabolic Charge, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I actually think it'd be very, very cool, and I hope Raichu maybe, is this Cope, gets, Mega Raichu Y gets electric terrain. I think that would be a really big deal. We have very few electric terrain setters, and really the only electric terrain setter that we see in competitive is or that we've seen in competitive in Scarlet and Violet is Miraidon. We don't have Tapu Koko. You know, we saw when Tapu Koko's legal, we definitely see Tapu Koko, but when Tapu Koko's not legal, we don't see Tapu Koko. You heard it here first. And you know, there is Pincurchin, but I think that, you know, Pincurchin is just not meta, You know, you might see it in earlier formats. You may have, in Scarlet and Violet, you may have seen it pop up here or there. Like, you probably faced it a couple times, but it certainly wasn't a meta staple. So I think having the ability to Mega Evolve and then get your terrain is a huge deal. Similar to how Mega Evolving and then getting your weather works, right? Because what that means is, let's say you have your Raichu Y on the board, right? If your Raichu Y on the board, your opponent swaps in their Rillaboom to get terrain, but then you Mega Evolve. So they've already swapped in, terrain activates, then you Mega Evolve, and then you get your terrain. So you can really play such a fun little game of, like a little mind game of when are you gonna Mega Evolve? You know, because when you Mega, that's when the terrain is set. So I think that is really cool. And I am gonna put Raichu Y above Raichu X. Yeah. Okay, I actually think I have kind of a hot take about Mega Chimecho. I actually think Mega Chimecho has some really reasonable viability, right? So Mega Chimecho does get, to me, the all-important steel typing. Like, psychic type by itself, we don't see a ton of mono psychic type Pokemon do well in VGC, and I'm particularly talking about Scarlet and Violet, the last couple of years in Scarlet and Violet. We have seen psychic types do well, but most of them have a secondary typing. You have Indeedee with the secondary, normal typing. You have Farigiraf, same secondary normal typing. You have Armarouge with the fire typing, with the secondary fire, with the other fire typing. You have, Hatterene with fairy typing. So, Psychic Pokemon and Psychic Surge and Psyspam, you know I'm a Psyspam believer, will always be good, but very often with the Pokemon that are seeing success, there is a secondary typing there. So I think having the Steel typing is a really, really big deal. Does it give you a weakness to ground? Yes. Does it give you a weakness to fire? Also, yes, but it does give you an immunity to poison. It does mean you're taking less damage from normal type moves. It does mean you're taking less damage from rock and flying and dragon type moves, and it gives you the resistance to fairy and steel. I don't know, I think it's quite good, and I think like Chimecho is also one of those Pokemon, right? We see a pretty blistering 135 special attack stat, we see a pretty slow 65 speed, and we see a really big 120 special defense and 110 defense. So really reasonable bulk. Very, very reasonable bulk. And a good special attack stat. Like, if Mega Chimecho can set Trick Room, we kind of see how good it is for a Pokemon to be able to set Trick Room, but then also sweep in Trick Room. So in Trick Room, let's say Chimecho gets to click Trick Room, then you can sweep in Trick Room. You don't have to rely on getting your sweeper in. You don't have to say, like, okay, now I have to find a way to pivot in my Ursaluna. Now I have to find a way to pivot in my Torkoal, right? That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. You have Chimecho and you're doing damage. So you can click your big psychic moves, especially if you have terrain up, but then maybe you can click something like you have a good steel move. And I wonder if for Mega Chimecho, I think it'd be kind of cool if they did, I'm gonna call it like an aerialate kind of ability where normal type moves would change to steel. So instead of like aerialate where normal moves turn to flying, or pixelate where normal moves turn to fairy. There we go. Maybe we'll see something where normal moves turn to steel, because I think that would be kind of nutty. That would be kind of nutty, kind of nasty. And we do see how good having psychic coverage and steel coverage is on a Pokemon like Iron Crown. We've been seeing in Reg F, Iron Crown Psy-Spam teams do quite well. So I think you could maybe repeat that success with Mega Chimecho. So I think Mega Chimecho's B. I think especially if they give it some kind of cool ability. If it keeps Levitate, that's also nice, then that gets rid of your ground typing, right? But I think if they give it some cool 8 ability where normal type moves are turned to steel, that could be really cool. Or maybe it even gets Psychic Surge, similar to, which is, I think would be very good in a similar way to Mega Raichu Y, where it's like, it's a fun mind game of, you get to, like, your opponent wants to lead with Rillaboom, right, to get rid of your Psychic Surge, but you Mega, and then you set up the Surge they can't fake out. Like, I think it could be very, very good. Up next. Okay. Mega Absol Z! So Absol is one of my favorite Pokemon. Absol's 100%, no questions asked, one of my favorite Pokemon, but I never loved Mega Absol. They got me back with Mega Absol Z. Like, I love the look of this Pokemon. I love the shiny. I think the teal looks really good. I love the non-shiny. I think the red looks really good. Like, they cooked! I'm so excited about this Pokemon. And where I place this Pokemon, is it going to be Cope? You'll have to keep watching to find out. So, Mega Absol Z does gain that ghost typing, which is a huge deal. Because as a dark type, you are weak to fighting, but now you take 0.00 damage from fighting, which I think is a huge deal. As well as you only have one weakness. You only have one weakness, and it is Fairy. Having only one weakness, and it's not even a 4x weakness, I think is a huge deal for this Pokemon. And additionally, so you take 0 from fighting, you take 0 from normal types as well. You have some, you also take 0 from psychic types. Like, you have some pretty, I think it's a really, really good defensive typing. I'm very excited about it. We do see, same with all the Z Megas, a blistering 151 speed, which I think is fantastic, a blistering 154 attack. No defenses to speak of, not a single defensive stat to speak of, but I think could be a really worthwhile glass cannon. I think being able, like, fast knockoff feels super, super good. If you're able to knock off your opponent's, like, damage reduction berry, and then you can go, and then you can hit them with a super effective attack to KO in one turn, like, that's a really huge deal. Also having access to massive Sucker Punch damage is another really, really big deal. Like, you can, if you Mega, there are probably plenty of Pokemon you can pick off in one hit with Sucker Punch, which I think is a absolutely massive deal. You also have something like a Shadow Sneak. So just having access to these really good priority moves is, I think, going to be huge for Mega Absol. I hope Mega Absol gets something cool like Inner Focus. That's the first mention of Inner Focus. Keep account. Keep account. I think Inner Focus would be really cool. One, you can't be flinched by Dark Pulse. If, like, we see Scrappy Kangaskhan, which I'm sure we will see, they will be able to fake you out, but you will not be able to be flinched. Additionally, a physical attacker that cannot be slowed down by Intimidate is a really, really big deal. So, I'm doing it. I'm doing it A tier. Is it Cope? Perhaps! Let me know what y'all think. Am I coping way too hard with Mega Absol Z? I'm just very excited. I'm very excited, and I am letting it cloud my judgment a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. Next up, we do have Mega Staraptor. Again, great design. They took everything cool about Staraptor and then gave it a little oomph without overdoing it, if that makes sense. I love this design. Staraptor gains that fighting typing, also has a pretty blistering 140 attack, and reasonable defenses. Reasonable, like 90 SPDEF, 100 defense, 85 HP. Like, you'll definitely be able to EV this Pokemon to survive attacks. And this is another Pokemon where I think Inner Focus count as two. I think Inner Focus will be so good on this Pokemon. We see Fake Out. Fake Out is a staple in VGC, whether it's Incineroar, whether it's Rillaboom, whether it's going to be Mega Kangaskhan, whether it's going to be Sneasler. Like, Fake Out is always very good in VGC. We see very good Pokemon have access to Fake Out. So being able to be immune to that Fake Out, not having to protect, not having to play any sort of mind game, or the flinch, I should say. You're not, like, immune to Fake Out, because it still does damage, you just don't flinch. I think is a really, really big deal. Additionally, a physical attacker not being able to be slowed down by Intimidate is huge. I would also be happy. I feel like Braviary could get Defiant. Like, there's just something about this Pokemon. I just think, vibes-wise, Defiant would also make sense. And while Defiant doesn't help you stall out Fake Out turns, Defiant will be very, very nice, where instead of your attack being lowered by Intimidate, it actually buffs you. So I think that could be a very huge deal. I think also Flying Stab is really, really incredible. Grass types are very good. Grass types are very, very good in VGC, like, especially, let's just take the Reg F meta, for example. So many grass types are S tier in this format. We have Amoonguss, we have Rillaboom, you have, Sinistra, you have Ogerpon. There are teams, almost every team has at least one grass type. Some teams, I see teams rocking an Ogerpon and an Amoonguss. Like, some teams have multiple grass types. So being able to have that stab flying damage, I think is going to be a huge deal for Mega Staraptor. Additionally, I also do think the fighting damage is going to be huge. Like, if the fake out bros are legal in champions, and by that I mean Rillaboom and Incineroar, being able to hit both of those Pokemon super effective with your stab moves, I think is a really big deal. It is B maybe too high? Am I talking myself up a little bit? Perhaps, but I'm putting Mega Staraptor in B. Uh-oh. I see who's next. Okay. Okay. Some things about Mega Garchomp Z are kind of nasty work. The Mono Dragon typing. While I want to look on the bright side, right? I want to look on the bright side. So I believe this is 90% bad, 10% good. So I'll start with the good. You're only 2 times weak to ice instead of being 4 times weak. So you can live ice moves. That's it, I think. Like, the ground typing is one of the things that made Garchomp so incredible. When there's a team that's rocking Garchomp, most of the time, it's for the ground moves. It's for the ground typing. Like I was talking about with Mega Staraptor, where flying type damage, especially stab, is so good because of what the meta looks like. That's same with ground type. We have so many very good Pokemon that are weak to ground, like fire types and steel types being weak to ground is a really, really big deal. Those are just, we have Pokemon of those types that are just staples in the meta. And being able to spread huge ground type damage is also a very big deal. Like, you have access to single target in something like a Stomping, but then you have access to huge spread damage in Earthquake, something like that. So just like taking that away, it just, like, feels heinous. It just does not feel good. Also, okay, so just like the other Z Megas, a really nice blistering 151 speed, like, that's very good, but, okay, So again, I think the stat distribution's a little bit wild. I will look on the bright side, though. We'll talk about the good first. Being a mixed attacker really does have its benefits, right? This means that if your opponent wants to intimidate you, then you can go for your special move. If your opponent wants to click, Reflect, you can go for your special move, right? If your opponent wants to click Light Screen, you go for your physical move. So, if your opponent snarls, you go for your physical move. So it's like, it kind of puts your opponent in an awkward situation. If they want to be able to mitigate your damage, you kind of say, like, in a single turn, you can't. So, that is good. That is a big deal. That's good. However, I just think taking away the dragon typing from Garchomp does not feel good. It doesn't feel good. I think, like, maybe if Garchomp can get some really cool, coverage moves, like, for on the special side, like, that could be good. Like, maybe we see some Drampa level coverage moves, maybe we see some Dragapult level coverage moves, right? Like, you have your Draco Meteor, huge special damage. Maybe you get access to Ice Beam. Maybe you get access to, you know, Flamethrower and T-Bolt. Like, I don't know, all those things. Like, having good coverage moves, that's good. Like, yes, having good coverage moves is good. You have, like, okay defenses. You know, 85, and 108 HP is quite good, but I might move this around. I'm gonna put Garchomp in D tier. I think if Garchomp, even with that stat distribution, I think if Garchomp still kept the ground typing, like, easy high C tier. Easy high C tier, actually maybe even B tier. But literally losing that typing, I think, takes so much away from Garchomp. So I might redo this, and as you can see, I don't have an F tier. Maybe I will add one, but it just feels like there's not going to be too much difference between D and C. Like, these are Mega Pokemon. I think even the D tier Mega Pokemon will be able to get you wins. You will be able to build teams around them. You know, will be able to get you to Master Ball. You can do well at locals with them. You can you can go positive at regionals with them. All that kind of stuff. Like, I fully believe that. So, I don't think, but again, maybe when we get to some others, I don't think any of these are F tier. I think that they're just kind of like D tier, but I do think there's a jump between, like, C and D and everything like that. So I just kind of wanted to explain that. Okay. Oh, up next. Oh, I see who we got next. Okay. The first thing I want to say about Mega Lucario Z is this, like, maybe is one of the best shiny colorways I have ever seen. The bright electric blue looks so freaking good. Then you have, like, this grayish blue. This is, like, grayish blue is actually low-key kind of one of my favorite colors. Then you have the purple, like, just the shiny colorway. So freaking good on this Pokemon. Anyway, yep, 151. Speed, yep, same with all the other Z Megas. A blistering 164 special attack, decent attack as well, and then not too many defenses to speak of. So, like, this is kind of similar to, like, Mega Absol Z, right? And so, I do kind of want to talk about, I feel like Mega Lucario can specifically be good in early formats and champions, because here's how I kind of see the meta developing a lot of times in VGC. And it's not quite this linear, but when a new meta drops, we usually see more hyper offense, right? People are going fast, doing damage while they kind of learn the meta. But then as the meta develops, people see the hyper offense and go, oh, okay, so I know I want to live, I'm just kind of like throwing Pokemon out there, like, I know I want to calc to live Specs, Flutter, Moonblast, or what have you, right? So then people start to calc for that kind of stuff, and then as that happens, the meta becomes a little bit slower, the meta becomes much bulkier, the meta kind of bulks out. But I do think, especially in early formats, like, this Pokemon is a hyper-offensive Pokemon. Same with Mega Absol Z. So, like, a lot of what I'm going to say for this kind of applies to Mega Absol Z as well. I think that, like, in early formats, you can demolish. You'll be able to get in there, do fast damage, and absolutely demolish some teams. So I really do think maybe Mega Lucario Z will have an opening in early metas more than a little bit later metas. I will say, I do think, I think not having access, I mean, you can still click physical moves. You have 100 attack, but I do think being a special attacker is always, for this type combination, like for Steel, you have really good moves, like you can Flash Cannon, something like that. Like, that is a very good special Steel move. I believe it also has a chance to lower Spadef, if I'm not mistaken. But for fighting, you really kind of miss the damage output of, like, a huge close combat. You also, for Steel, I think it might even still be worth it to run like a Bullet Punch. I just think having that kind of priority damage is a big deal. But so I think that like kind of being a special attacker lets Lucario down a little bit, but I definitely think this Pokemon will be usable. I 100% think this Pokemon will be usable. But I think I'm putting Lucario in C tier. Is that too low? Maybe. I might have to go back and like look at everything. Okay. We have Heatran, one of the funniest, one of the funniest designs. This is a Magma Frog coming at ya, Magma Forg coming at ya. Keeping the Fire Steel typing, this is, I just think, a very, very good very good offensive and decent defensive typing as well. So, like, look at all these resistances. So many resistances. You do that 4 times weakness to ground, but for Pokemon that are 4 times weak to moves have had a long history of being very good in VGC, whether that's Heatran, whether that's Landorus of either form, whether that's Garchomp, whether that is Tyranitar. So there are plenty of Pokemon that have absolutely thrived in various formats of VGC that are 4 times weak to moves. I don't think that should ever count a Pokemon out. But I think, like, if we look at the resistances, resist normal, resist grass, resist ice, 0 from poison, resist flying, resist psychic, resist bug, resist dragon, resist steel, and resist fairy. Like, that is just such a good... That is so many resists of moves that I think will be very, very common. We do see a pretty slow, like 67 speed, and Heatran has never relied on their speed stat, right? So sometimes seen on Trick Room or seen on bulkier, maybe kind of more balance-leaning teams or more bulky offense-leaning teams, I would say. 141 Spadef and 106 defense with 91 HP. That is a very, very solid... Those are very solid defensive stats. Additionally, if we are seeing the meta move more in a special direction, I think that that's going to make Mega Heatran even better, because you can just, like, you're kind of just a special wall over here, And then you have a very, very good special attack stat in 175. So, you have access to Earth Power for other fire types and Heatrans, which, like, fire types you'd think would stall out Heatran with this typing, but no, you have access to the fat Earth Power, you have Heat Wave, you have Flamethrower, you have Magma Storm, that you can even run something like Taunt. Like, I've run Taunt Heatran, and it's been very, very good. What if Heatran even gets... Because Heatran lost Eruption, right? So if Heatran gets Eruption back, stand back, And I want to say, additionally, like, we do see an awkward kind of, like, 120 attack, and at least in a Flutter meta. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Heavy Slam Heatran was ever really run, except for in a Flutter meta. But in a Flutter meta, that's a huge deal. Being able, because Flutter has way worse physical defense than special defense, so being able to hit Flutter really hard on the physical side, even if you're a special Heatran, is a really big deal. So I think Heatran's going to be very, very good, and I'm really curious what ability they're going to give this Pokemon. So I kind of think of Flash Fire as a defensive ability, if that makes sense. You get to absorb fire moves and then also increase the damage of your fire type attacks, right? So I wonder if they're going to give Heatran another defensive ability. Like, what if it's Levitate? I don't think it actually will be, but what if? what if it's Levitate? So you can bait out a fire attack, swap in your Heatran, get the boost, then you can go Levitate mode. Like, that would be pretty nuts. But honestly, I think if they kept Flash Fire, that also would certainly not be the end of the world. I'm actually I am putting Heatran in S tier. I don't know if this is too high. But yeah, I've done it. I have simply done it. Okay, this next Pokemon, I'm super curious about, right? Because as a VG player, like, all the Pokemon that I already listed, I have played with at some point, I've played against at some point, some more than others. Like, I haven't used Staraptor a ton, but I've used various versions of, I've used, like, Alolan Raichu, I've used Pichu even, I've used Pikachu, I've used Raichu, I've used a little bit of Absol, I haven't really used, Chimecho, but I've used, like, Garchomp, Lucario, Heatran. But this is a Pokemon, I am so happy that Golurk got a Mega. I just feel like some Pokemon need a little extra love, and I'm really excited for Golurk. Keeping the ground ghost typing, sick design, and sick shiny. The bright green and the pink, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's good! It's like Cosmo and Wanda. But like, when Cosmo and Wanda had to hide, but they're, like, hiding, and it's like a Mega Golurk. Anyway, so, very slow. We got that 55 speed, so that's screaming. That's hollering. That's yelling to me. This is a Trick Room Mon, right? Very reasonable defenses. 105 Spadef, 105 defense, 89 HP. That's some pretty decent bulk with a 159 attack stat. You know what I'm going to mention here. It'd be cool if this Pokemon got, say it with me, Inner Focus. Again, just a physical type Mon that can't be slowed, because you can't hold Clear Amulet. You're already holding the Mega Stone. That can't be slowed down by Intimidate, as well as can't be flinched, which is also a really big deal in Trick Room. Like, if they can waste your time by flinching you. And the other thing I do want to say is, like I've already kind of talked about with Garchomp, ground type has long been a very, very good type in VGC, right? We see Garchomps, we see both Ursalunas, we see both Ursalunas be quite good. We see both forms of Landorus be very good. So just having this huge sweeper in Trick Room, like, maybe you can also set up a curse or something like that. Maybe, like, to bolster up your defenses and your attack power even more, you could have Heal Pulse, you could have a Sinistra be able to swap in and keep healing you up, and then you just get to click big spread type damage, like with an Earthquake, but then you also have something like a Stomping, or something like a Shadow Punch? Not Shadow Claw. You probably not. Well, I guess you could Claw. Like, maybe it's Cope because I want this Pokemon to be good. I can't decide if it's actually C or B. But I think I'm gonna put Golurk in B. Okay, next up we do have Meowstick. And so I kind of talked a little bit about this when I was talking about Chimecho, but Meowstick has a just the singular psychic typing. And while I don't think, like, I don't think that's, like, the worst type by any means, I do think when we see, it's like, a lot of psychic Pokemon that have success, largely there is a secondary typing there. But pretty fast, 124 speed, decent Spadef, a little bit lackluster defense, and certainly lackluster HP as well. But good special attack, 143 special attack. And my understanding is, please correct me if I'm wrong, but whichever Meowstick you are using, one has competitive, one has prankster. Whichever Meowstick you are using, you Mega Evolve, and it turns into the same Mega Meowstick. There's not two Mega Meowsticks. This isn't like Mega Meowstick female. They both turn into this Meowstick. And honestly, both competitive and prankster are good abilities, and I think Megas will always be a little bit better when their base form has some use. So whether that means you have your Meowstick, then you get the boost from competitive, then you Mega Evolve. Or that's kind of what I mean, or something like that. Or maybe there's, like, Prankster, and you can go for Prankster Calm Mind if you're facing down two special attackers, bolster up your both defensive prowess and your attack power, and then you Mega. And I do think, like, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Mega Meowstick something like Psychic Surge. I think that would be very cool. I really do hope we see some megas with getting the surge abilities. I just think that terrains are really cool. I think terrain wars are always like really tough but really fun, similar to weather wars in VGC. So I would definitely like to see more. I think I'm gonna put Meowstick in C though. These aren't really tiered in the list, but at the same time I kind of am. But I guess with Psychic Surge, could Meowstick be B? I think I need to, like, redo this a little bit. Like, Golurk might also be C. I'm gonna keep... Nah. Don't second guess. Don't second guess. I'm leaving Golurk in B. But I do think Psychic Surge could be very cool for Meowstick. Okay! We got the crab. We got the crab. I actually love this design. This design is so funny. There are a couple megas where they were like, legs. Hear me out. Hear me out. I have a vision. And it is legs. And, Crabominable, Mega Crabominable is no different, but I love, like, the ice boots. I love the ice boots. Like, I really like the ice claws. I don't know. I do think this design is, like, funny, but I also like it. Fighting ice type, again, similar to Golurk, we do have a 33 speed, so this Pokemon is absolutely screaming at me. This is a Trick Room Pokemon. Honestly, reasonable defenses. Like, quite good. 107 Spadef, 122 defense, kind of being a physical wall, 97 HP. That's some good bulk, and 157 attack I think is a really, really big deal. Having access to something like Drain Punch will be really nice as well. Ice type is a pretty good offensive typing. We see in so many metas that Ice just hits so many of the staples very hard. Being able to hit Dragon types, being able to hit ground types, flying types, grass types, like, is a very huge deal. I do think defensively, though, this is a little bit of a tougher combination than some of the other megas we saw, you know, weak to fire, weak to fighting, weak to flying, weak to psychic, weak to steel, and weak to fairy. And I think especially if you're in Trick Room, like, a lot of Trick Room setters, as we do see, and a common Trick Room strategy is Psy Spam. So being weak to Psychic, I think, specifically in Trick Room, I think could hurt you a little bit. But you really do have very decent defenses and a decent attack here. I think similarly, if you can click Bulk Up or something like that, and I think I'm gonna mention it again. Inner Focus. And so that's really just my way of saying, it doesn't have to be Inner Focus, but that's just my way of saying, if this Mega cannot be slowed down by conventional means, meaning cannot be slowed down by Intimidate, then I think that that's a really, really big deal as well. It feels kind of wrong for me to put this in a tier below Golurk. I just think that Golurk's typing is better. I just think that, like, having the ground typing is better. Sorry, okay. 157, that's not what I wanted to see. This is what I wanted to see. 157, yeah, and Golurk has a better attack stat. And Golurk has a better attack stat, like, not by much. It's like 159 versus 157. But I am gonna put it a tier below Golurk. Like, I do think, especially if this Pokemon gets a good ability, like, I think it'll be quite usable. Like, I really do think C is usable. And like I said, these are all Mega Pokemon. You will be able to get to Master Ball with any of these megas. That is, or if, like, whatever I'm just pretending it's going to be a similar Master Ball ladder, but, like, you'll be able to get Master Ball with any of these megas. Will you be able to get top 500? Like, I think that is absolutely possible as well. I'm just kind of talking, so, like, I do think they are all kind of usable, but I'm just seeing which ones I think will be, like, the best, you know? Ooh, okay, hold on, we got a fun one next. Honestly, all these are pretty fun, but we got Golisopod next. And it's funny, because this is kind of like the third similarly statted, I think that's a good way to say it. This is kind of the third similarly statted Pokemon in a row. No, because we had Meowstick. Besides Meowstick, that we have. Like, big physical attacker, but slow. Big physical attacker, but slow. So, with the Golisopod, we are seeing that 40 speed. We do have a massive 120 Spadef, 175 defense, and still 150 attack. Like, a lackluster HP, but these defenses are huge, are absolutely massive, and we do see the bug steel, so the same typing as scissor. And I actually think this is a reasonable defensive typing, to be completely honest with you. I kind of miss the water, I'll be honest. I do kind of miss the water, but I still think this is a good defensive typing. You have one weakness, it is 4 times weak to fire, but like I said earlier, 4 times weakness absolutely does not disqualify a Pokemon from being a meta staple, as the ones I had mentioned earlier, Garchomp, Landorus, Heatran, all have, in various points of VGC, have all been extreme staples. So I don't think that dismisses Golisopod at all. I actually think Golisopod is going to be quite good. I think having Bug Stab, I know this is kind of a wild take, I think having Bug Stab, it can be so useful, especially if we see a lot of, like, Psy-Spam Trick Room, like, being able to hit those Psychic types super hard with your Stab Bug moves, and then also being able, if you have something like, oh, did this freeze? Oh, okay, well, I can't scroll, so that's fun for me. So we're just gonna be, we only get legs. We only get Golisopod legs. But I think having the ability to hit those Psychic types hard is a really, really big deal. You get health back with something like a Leech Life, like, you know, is this Pokemon gonna have access to Bullet Punch? Getting huge Bullet Punches off, I think, is also a very, very big deal. I absolutely think that this Mega is gonna be usable. I'm actually gonna put this Mega in B tier. I don't know, is that a super hot take? Is that a super hot take? I don't know, I just feel like some of these Trick Room Sweepers, especially with a good ability, I think that could be huge. I think that could be absolutely massive there. Okay, next up. Uh-oh. I forgot one. Okay, just kidding. I'm gonna go back because I have to pull up the page. I had pre-pulled up all these pages, and then I literally forgot to pull up Mega Scovillain. Oops. So next up we have Glimmora. Lies. Next up we have Glimmora. I'm gonna be honest, this design is fine. 6 shiny. It's like the same colorway, I believe, as regular Glimmora. So sick colorway for the shiny. You know, I love that electric blue, but to me, this design is just okay. To me, this design... Oh, this is also frozen? Oh, no. Okay, weird. Okay. Anyway, sorry. But would it be a Lucky Wolf video without some technical difficulties? No, it wouldn't. Okay, so with Glimmora, keeping the Rock Poison typing, I actually think Rock Poison is just, like, a very good typing, and I think right now in Reg F, Glimmora's being, like, slightly slept on. You know, you see it sometimes, I just think it hits so much of the meta so freaking hard, so being able to keep that, I think, is huge. We do see 101 speed, like, not a bad speed stat, very reasonable defenses in... Oh my gosh. Okay, well, this is freaking out. In 96 and 105, respectively, then a big 150 special attack. I think the one thing is, you don't necessarily need Meteor Beam, but you can't hold the Power Herb. You can't hold the Power Herb and also Mega. So you won't be able to click Meteor Beam, which I think is like a huge deal for Glimmora. But I think if they give Glimmora some kind of cool defensive, if they give Glimmora some kind of, like, cool defensive ability, like, you know, if they give this Pokemon, like, Water Absorb, I don't know, or something like that, I think that could make Glimmora absolutely broken. I think Glimmora will be okay. I think Glimmora... Sorry, Mega Scovillain, I'm gonna have to end the video with you, pal. Like, maybe C, but it just, like, nothing about Mega Glimmora is, like, super standing out to me, you know what I mean? Okay, we got Tatsu next. And Tatsu keeping that Dragon Water typing, I think it's one of the best, in my opinion, it's one of the best defensive typings in typing combinations in Pokemon, period. You are weak to Fairy and you are weak to Dragon. And that is it. And you have some pretty big resistances in the fire and the water. I don't know. I just think it's a great defensive typing. But I do think Tatsu is one of those Mullins. I think it's kind of outclassed by its just regular form Tatsu. And this is my guess. I don't think that Megatatsu's ability is going to be some sort of, please let it not be, some sort of like Omni boost for Dozo, because if we are using Legends ZA to try to glean any clues about what these Mega's abilities are going to be, if you use Tatsu Dozo, Commander activates, like, right, if you're using them on ranked and they're both on your team, Commander activates. But if you are using Tatsu and if you're using Mega Tatsu, then the Commander boosts don't activate. So, I have high hopes. I have high hopes that this is not going to be an Omni boost situation, but who the heck knows. But you know, like, this is kind of middling, a little bit of a middling speed, very good special defense, very little HP to speak of, and then, like, a good special attack. A good special attack. You know, and Tatsu now even gets Tatsu now even gets access to some really good moves. You know, you have Draco Meteor, you have Muddy Water, you have for 2 stabs, then you have like Icy Wind. So, you know, I think Tatsu is like probably, maybe this is a hot take, I think Tatsu might even be D. Does Tatsu's typing carry it? It is hard for me to put Tatsu too much higher, just because I feel like regular Tatsu kind of outclasses Mega Tatsu. So it's hard for me to put Tatsu even higher. Okay, next. Oh, hello. Next we do have Baxcalibur. I love this Mega. This is another Mega I absolutely love. Keeps the Dragon Ice typing, which is not the best defensive typing. Ice I just don't think is ever going to be the best defensive typing. I do think it's a pretty reasonable offensive typing, though. Ice is, like, very good offensively. But, you know, we are weak to fighting. We're weak to Rock, Dragon, and Fairy. So it's not horrible. It's not horrible. And I think Baxcalibur is going to probably have some sword-related ability, right? As we do see the sword coming out of Baxcalibur's back is literally named Excalibur, you know? So I wouldn't be surprised. Are we going to see Intrepid Sword? I don't really know. I don't know what we're going to see on this Pokemon. I hope it's like Intrepid Sword pre-nerf. I hope it's Intrepid Sword pre-nerf, to be completely honest with you. And we do see a really absolutely staggering attack stat in 175, very good HP in 115, very reasonable defense, and, like, pretty okay Spadef, and, like, a bit of a middling speed. So, you know, you're either going to build this Pokemon to be bulky with some good support, or you're going to have Tailwind support for this Pokemon. You know, you're not going to rely on just the raw 87 speed. But again, I'm probably going to be placing this Pokemon at least a little bit of cope, but I absolutely think Megabax is at least C tier, maybe B tier. I just think with a absolutely busted ability, I think Megabax could be good. Like, that attack stat is huge. Having access to some really good moves, like, having access to even just a move like Ice Shard, I just think Priority can absolutely win you games and be so good in VGC. Like, you know, if your opponent lives on, like, 5% but would outspeed you and KO the next turn, you just get to hit them with that Priority, hit them with the Ice Shard, and just, like, potentially completely change the game. So I am very hopeful. I'm gonna put Baxcalibur in B. Will I mention Inner Focus for Baxcalibur? No. Don't count it. Don't count it! Okay, but give me a minute. I need to pull up the Mega Scovillain page. Okay, here we go. Mega Scovillain. Maybe the worst of the new Megas! I'm still not even gonna put Mega Scovillain in F tier. Maybe I should make an F tier just for Mega Scovillain, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna put Mega Scovillain in D tier. But I do think Mega Scovillain struggles a little bit. Right. I do think Grass Fire is like a sick type combination. Love that we have that type combination. And we even saw Scovillain pop up a little bit in, like, restricted formats. So you just never know when a Pokemon is gonna find its little niche. So I'm not saying this Pokemon is gonna forever be just the worst Mega to ever exist, but I do think even its stats are a little lackluster. 7.5 speed, right? Spadef 85, defense 85. Not an HP stat to even speak of at 65. And then, 138 respectively. And I've kind of talked about the value earlier in the video, the value of being a mixed attacker. But, I think it's just tough because, that means if you don't want to be a minus attack or minus special attack nature, you probably don't want to be minus speed. So that means you're going to be a minus defense nature to not take away from either of your attack stats, and you can't hold a Focus Sash because you're already holding the Mega Stone. Like, this Pokemon is just... I just don't see this Pokemon being particularly good, to be honest with you. I think it's just tough. I think it's another one similar to Tatsu that's just a little bit outclassed by its regular form, because regular form can hold something like a Focus Sash. What busted ability could they give this Pokemon? I don't even know, because here's the thing, if it's Chlorophyll, I'm pretty sure Venusaur just outpaces you. I think Venusaur just outpaces you. And wouldn't use your Mega Spot unless you're using Mega Venu, but then I don't think you're using it for That's the point. I don't think you're using it for Chlorophyll. But, Sash Venu just outpaces. Yeah. In the please, am I being too harsh on Mega Scovillain? Please let me know in the comments. Please let me know in the comments down below, but I cannot see Scovillain being above D tier. I really don't see it. I really, really don't see it. Okay, let me take one last look. At this tier list. I think, honestly, maybe it's a little cope, but I really feel like with Inner Focus mention. If there was an Inner Focus drinking game, that would be nasty. I think if, this Pokemon is Inner Focus, maybe that could be A tier as well. I do think Flying Fighting is a super cool typing. I think that could hit a lot of the potential meta, super, super hard. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna keep the tier list at this. Do I move Nah, I'm not moving Glim up. Nah. I'm gonna keep it at this. I think potentially... So I think some things that potentially I could see, I think maybe Lucario's too low. I'll be honest, I think maybe Lucario's a little bit too low. But for now, I'm gonna keep it at this. Yeah, for now I'm gonna keep it at this. So I'm sure your tier list is different than my tier list, so please let me know in the comments down below, what is your Mega Dimension DLC Mega tier list looking like for viability in VGC. If you couldn't tell from this video, I am so excited for Champions. I'm so excited to be able to use these Pokemon in VGC. Y'all, it's gonna be a time. And if you did enjoy this content at any time, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I would very, very much appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of their day, and I will catch you in the next one. Okay, bye!